So here's my take: is there were two coaches I thought needed to be considered in Chicago. Mike McCarthy, who's had no owner and a meddling owner. I thought he was uniquely qualified for it. Or Ben Johnson. Is he going to be Sean McVay or Matt LaFleur? Or is he going to be Adam Gase and Brandon Staley? I don't know. Like young quarterbacks, a lot of it is, where do you land? Jaden Daniels got a really good OC and a veteran coach. Caleb Williams got the Bears. It is I'm going to tell you, it's a gravel road in Chicago full of potholes. Throw in some politics. And I thought Vrabel and Mike McCarthy were qualified for it. They have dealt with that nonsense before. They've gone off-road before. Ben Johnson, well, he knows offense. He's not taking that Lions O-line with him, or that incredible Lions running back room with him, or the great culture builder Dan Campbell with him. Chicago is going to be tough to navigate. Matt Nagy got to the playoffs twice with Mitch Trubisky, and they ran him out of town. It's a noisy city. They run managers out of town. They go after players. It's Boston. It's Philly. It's Chicago. Maybe they're Midwest nice, but they're noisy. Now, there's two real positives here. Number one is Caleb Williams wanted an offensive coach, and I think generationally, age-wise, Caleb Williams was saying, without saying it out loud, I kind of like this Ben Johnson guy. Here's Caleb Williams a week ago.
Selfishly, I want an offensive-minded guy so I can build with him and, be with that coach for the next 19, 17, 15 years.
Yeah, so there you go. Ben Johnson is smart. He's clever. He takes risks. He just watched an organization get built up, and smart people by proximity. He looked around and, okay, I'm going to steal some of the things Dan Campbell did. So Caleb got an offensive guy, and the other thing to think about is you definitely weakened Detroit. Is that Dan Campbell's not known as a scheme guru or a scheme wizard. He's a walk-around guy. He's a culture creator. And Ben Johnson was the scheme to that stacked offensive building. Now, Detroit, because the O-line, Goff, and the running backs, they're going to score. It's going to be a good offense for years, like Philadelphia. There's just too many good players, too good of an offensive line. Even Sirianni can't screw it up. But in the end, they won't be as clever or creative, and Ben Johnson's the reason for that.
Yeah. So I want to attack this from multiple different angles. First, I wanted to say I tried to find the clip because I said, "Oh, Ben Johnson will not go to the Chicago Bears." I kept saying that, and if he does, I'll make a video and say that I was wrong. I'm here. I'm saying I was wrong. I wanted to try to find the clip of where I said, like, no, he is not going. I couldn't find it because I made too many videos, and I just don't have the energy to kind of scan through every single video and find that clip. Honestly, I thought that would be pretty funny because I've been doing a bunch of victory laps for like my Philadelphia Eagles takes and the Washington Commanders take, and I wanted to do the opposite of when I got this wrong. But I honestly, it's been a busy week with everything, so I just couldn't do it. Yeah, listen, this is both an awesome hire, and I want to talk about all the reasons why I think it's awesome and great, which honestly Colin pretty much already talked about. But then there's just the one thing, though, that I question, maybe kind of two things that, again, I'm not saying are definite issues. I just, I like to kind of bring up everything from all different angles, both positive, negative, and anything in between. So we'll start with the positive, make everyone happy first, and then we'll end with making everyone really upset. But yeah, listen, so just off the jump, this charges and energizes this Chicago Bears team. Caleb, everyone's going to be so excited to get to work this offseason into, preseason, practices, camp, everything. It just energizes everything. It's a new era. They got the new coach that everybody wanted. Now, no coach is perfect, so you'll always be able to find certain flaws and be like, well, what about this? What about that? But it still is going to be like, there's going to be such energy. Mike McCarthy was not going to bring that. I think Mike McCarthy would have been a great hire, but he was not going to bring that. This is a new era in Chicago. We got Mike McCarthy, or we got Pete Carroll. Like, just wasn't going to hit like that. Ben Johnson is. And I'm very confident that Ben Johnson, he's young enough, his personality, his energy, he's going to connect to these younger players. So these players who are 24, 25, 26, 27, like that is, there's going to be that connection. Not a doubt in my mind. So that is a massive positive. And like Colin said, it does, without a shadow of a doubt, weaken the Lions. But the Lions were always going to be weakened because Ben Johnson was always going to go somewhere. So this isn't kind of almost like a LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers going to Miami, because people also, talk about like, hey, when LeBron went to Miami, he weakened Cleveland. He pretty much destroyed Cleveland, and he destroyed the Raptors. And so it was one of those things where it was like, you by making this move, you weaken multiple teams. Like the Lions were always going to be weakened. So it's not like the Bears needed to do that themselves. So you have that kind of that aspect. The other real benefit is that Caleb immediately will be put in a position to succeed and look great on the field, specifically on the field. Caleb's life will get easier, no doubt about it. But here's the one thing, my one concern, so to speak, and this is what I'm curious to see how Ben Johnson handles this, or what the approach is because Ben Johnson is a brilliant X's and O's guy, brilliant scheming. But that has very, 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 very little to actual quarterback development, how to actually improve the play, the mechanics, etc. of the quarterback himself. And so I'm curious because Jared Goff didn't need that development. And that's who Jared Goff, was paired with. Jared Goff was already developed. And that's why when you have some of these quarterback whisperers like Andy Reid, like McVay, like Kevin O'Connell, like they're the ones that can actually, if quarterback is a C or a B, they can bring them up to an A. But again, and they can now use the scheme, and they can use their X's and O's game plan scheme, play calling, all of that to put said quarterback in a position to succeed. Because you can have a guy who can truly knows everything about how to, be a great quarterback, and you can literally just grow and help that player become an awesome quarterback. But you could be the worst at play calling. You could be the worst at play design, awful game plan. You just have no idea how to balance out running and throwing and this and that. But you're so good at everything else. And then on the opposite side, you can be just an amazing X's and O's guy where you know exactly how to find the rhythm of a game. You know exactly how to play call. You know exactly the scheme. You have a million trick plays up your sleeve. You know exactly what to do, how to set up all the players to succeed for that matter. But you're not good at developing, young talent. We see this all the time with coaches, and this is something that I've talked about, honestly, throughout this whole year in this channel. And Caleb clearly needs to be developed. He lacked both in a lot of ways in terms of a coaching, where nobody was actually helping him develop throughout this year in terms of him just improving as an actual quarterback itself, as well as putting him in a position to succeed at the level that he was at. And I've talked about this a lot as well, where it's like sometimes you have a great coach who can put his players in to succeed, but they're good only at certain levels. You have some coaches that are really good at putting B's and C's in positions to succeed. Whereas you have other coaches who literally don't know what to do with B's and C's. They literally are like, I don't understand. You got to be able to do this. If you can't do this, then I don't know how to help you. And they're only great at putting A's in positions to succeed. We see this all the time, and especially in basketball and in football to a degree. It's just harder to really always see because there's so many moving parts in football. For all we know, that's what Eberflus was like. Honestly, it's a little bit harder to tell. But like I said, we've seen this consistently with basketball players like Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, Popovich. Like just those coaches alone pretty much, embody that. And then honestly, that could have been Bill Belichick. Seriously, everyone's so quick to rag on Bill Belichick, but like if you maybe actually give him like a legitimate quarterback, maybe he's back to, doing magic. So it's just kind of interesting. And that's kind of what makes some of these other coaches really special, like an Andy Reid, like a McVay for that matter, because we've seen Andy Reid win with Alex Smith. We've seen Andy Reid win with a bunch of backup quarterbacks, for quite frankly. We've seen Sean McVay. Like, we've seen this kind of happen. And so the question mark, that is a question mark about Ben Johnson. We don't know. We just don't. And I think it's worth the risk at this point. I do. But we honestly, we just don't know. We don't know how he's going to be as an actual head coach itself, how he's going to run, the operation, as well as, who's in place to actually ensure that Caleb develops just his level of talent, his on-field abilities. I'm not under the impression that that's Ben Johnson. I could be wrong, but I'm not under that impression. So then again, what is the path that the Chicago Bears are taking, and himself, because you have a lot of these players kind of seeking coaching, in other places as well. And that's why you saw Colin have Palmer on, doing his whole kind of like quarterback camp school, or, whatever kind of thing he has, where he's worked with other players like Mahomes, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and all of that. So like, those are the things that I would like to know. What are the Chicago Bears doing for Caleb Williams? Because I think that's incredibly important that he needs someone to put him in a position to succeed on the field, and he needs to develop his skill set. He needs to become just an actual better quarterback, regardless of whatever the scheme, play calling, coaching, game plan is. It's a twofold thing. Also needs someone how to help him be a leader. That is a thing too. He needs to be a little bit better of a leader. And again, to be very clear, I don't think he was a bad leader this past year. In fact, I think he actually did a pretty good job considering the circumstances. But I still think he does need kind of someone to really kind of help him be like, this is how you lead men in the NFL. This is the energy that you need to bring, because otherwise people are going to abandon you. You can say all the right things with the mic. You can say all the right things in the locker room. But unless you kind of do this, and this, they're going to ban you. They're just going to think that you're like whoever. They're not going to connect with you. Okay. The NFL has plenty of quarterbacks who said all the right things at the mic and all the right things in the locker room. Yet players are just like, I don't like you. And when things go bad, we point the finger at you, man. We don't got your back. And, it's just, Caleb has to work on a handful of things. He just does. And when you have the year that you had this past year, you already have a target on your back to be the scapegoat. You just do. If the Chicago Bears start off slow this season, they will more likely blame Caleb Williams than Ben Johnson, because we've seen Ben Johnson be wildly successful with the Detroit Lions. So whether it's fair or foul, Caleb already has a target on his back that if the Chicago Bears have any type of issues moving forward, at least for this first season, they're going to look at Caleb first. So you got to bring it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chicago Bears and hiring? I almost said hiring Caleb Williams. Hiring Ben Johnson. Are you excited about this hire? Do you think this will, how will this fare for Caleb and the team as a whole, culturally, X's and O's, etc., etc.? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.